after realizing to master enterprise, and I ain't have to be in school by 10. I then began to encounter with my counter.
How's it going, everyone? And today we are back in Minecraft, and I don't know if you guys have been watching it or not, but Game of Thrones Season 7 just started, and the first episode, at the very end, it shows off the Targaryen Stronghold, and I thought, what a perfect thing to take into Minecraft and build. So, in the episode, there shows an image, a quick image of the island's layout, so what you can see as I'm doing this right now, where you can see me going around and just starting to map out the landscape, trying to make it as similar as I can to the one that's on the map. And once I've done that, I'll begin extruding upwards and terraforming the mountains. So as you can see here, I'm starting at the front of the island, and this is where the entrance will be. So these are two mountains on either side and then a little beach at the front. And as I come up to the main part of the island, there's going to be a bridgeway which leads all the way up it, snaking up the side of the rocks. Now, as you can see, the visuals are going a bit crazy at the moment. Sorry about that. There's not much I can do because it's such a large project. My character only loads in a certain amount of chunks for the world, so where you see it clipping off the map like that, off the screen, that's not much I can do about that. So, sorry, but that's going to happen. So now that I've done the base terraforming done, I flattened off the top of the island so I can start to build the actual castle itself, the stronghold, the Targaryen Stronghold, and I'm just using some pink wool at the moment to map out and plan how I want the building to be, what shape I want it to be, and how I want it to sit on the island itself, because I don't want it to just be flat at the end of this. I want to work it in so that it kind of forms and fits into the island itself. Now this is an extremely weird shape as it is anyway, so the planning itself took a long time, but I think that's one of the more important things you can do before starting any kind of project, is make sure you plan it out, know what you're doing in your head, and then it makes life a whole lot easier. So as you can see, I'm just replacing where I've planned out with some stone brick. This project is going to look very grey right up until the end of this video. Because I've worked with gravel and stone for the terraforming, and now I'm using stone brick for the actual building. It looks very grey, but trust me, it won't look so grey at the end. So I'm building this up. This is just creating the outer wall. I believe it's 35 blocks tall. It might be 40 blocks tall, actually. And then I work up from there in a second and make it even taller. Just adjusting it at the back there, stretching out the castle itself. So now I'm starting to work on the crenellations and the detail of the castle walls. The problem is, when I looked at the reference images, a lot of the castle was just very flat, which in Minecraft doesn't look too good. So I had a kind of a tough time working out the detail, but I decided in the end to take what I could and I just add a little bit more detail into it, so it's not picture perfect to the actual build, but it's pretty similar. And then along with adding in different materials such as some polished diorite into the build, it definitely helps break it up and make it look a little bit less flat. Now once I've done these crenellations and details, I do it around the entire build. And now I'm just starting to flatten off the top of the castle itself. Now the problem is with this build is you don't get a lot of reference images from the first episode of Season 7, so I'm just having to work with what I've got. So in the end I decided to flatten off the entire top of it with stone brick. And now you can just start to see me planning out and mapping out the buildings that are going to go in place on top of this level. Mapping out in different colours so that I know which towers I'm going to build and where they're going to roughly be. And then I'm doing a similar thing to what I did with the walls of the castle, and I'm just building it up by 20 blocks high, doing a lip on it, and then continuing it upwards into the sky. I mimicked pretty similar details and crenellations from the walls, and all of them having those peaks on the corners of the building. Now for most of this I didn't use World Edit, it only got right up until I was doing the big stuff like the terraforming and the flattening off the top of the castle there. Apart from that, I didn't really use much World Edit, so this was very time consuming, going around and replacing each layer with that certain block. I could have done it with World Edit, which would have made my life a lot easier, but in the end I decided to stick with it and just try and build up as much as I can by hand. So now I've just come around to the back here and I'm starting to build up the back 2 towers, the 2 little sticking out lips of the build. And it's, again, very similar to the other parts of the building. On the top here, I decided to do another level to it, so this continues upwards just on the inside of it. Again, copying the similar design that I've got on the walls around the rest of the castle. Now I've come down to the final yellow planned out area, and this is just going to be a little lipped, another one that's kind of very similar to the other designs, and it's going to lip out the back, just giving it that one extra level at the back there to fill out that space. Now as I come around the side here, we're going to start to work on the separate buildings on either side of these towers. Now again, it's all very flat and bare on the actual build in the actual castle in the episode, so I really had to mess around with some designs and trying to mix in different types of stone and stuff to make it look not so bland. And that's the biggest problem that I had with this build, is making it not look all just very grey. After all, it is a stronghold, so there's not much you can do about that. So I mirrored it onto the other side, and now we're coming through to the last section of the building on top. And these each had little support beams on the outside, which I wanted to add some detail in and bring it over the top of the roof. And then finally bringing out the final section of this building, and then once I'm done, copying and pasting it over to the other side to save some time. We basically finished the castle, and I wanted to come back to the front of the island because we're going to start to build the entrance. Now, this actually was quite a lot of fun. I was messing around with the designs. If you look at images and from the episode, they have 2 dragon heads out the side of the entrance. And so I started messing around with some designs and decided what I wanted and how I wanted it to fit on the little plinths. And once I was happy with the design, I copied and pasted it over to the other side so that it matches. Again, coming up here and just adding some detail to the towers and then making a wall that goes into the cliff face itself. And now I'm just working on a little entranceway to get up to the doorway itself where the dragons are. Doing a few little touch-ups here and there, some terraforming on the beach, which you can just see in the bottom corner. And then finally I come up and finish the door of the entrance. Now we're the other side of the wall, and I want to start working on the pathway, the winding road that leads all the way up to the castle doors. Now, this, again, it's not too difficult as long as you keep it pretty symmetrical, which is obviously difficult to do when it's not that simple. I wanted to keep a 3-wide gap for the entire pathway around, and I just kind of snaked it up the hill and around the little cliff faces and the edges where I wanted to sit. Then once I'd done, I brought it all the way down to the ground. And then finally filled it in with some cobblestone and carefully went up as it spiraled up the cliff face. Now we've pretty much done with most of it. I wanted to make the castle itself flesh in with the island a bit more, so I started to do a little bit more terraforming, building up the cliff faces, making it look a little bit more like the images. Just working it around to make it look a little bit more natural rather than just having it sit on the flat island on top. Once that was done, I finally went over with a few little touches to give it a bit more depth and detail to the mountain. So I went around and added in some diorite and andesite into the stone so that it gives it a little bit more shape to the cliff faces itself. And once I'd done that, I just went around with some mixed dirt and grass and added it to the cliff face edges, just to get rid of a little bit of that grey and give it a bit more colour into it. Also adding in some sand around by the beaches there and just at the bottom of the cliff faces. And that was about it. Anyway, that just about wrapped things up for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it and were pleased with the result. I think I was pleased with the result. It came out pretty damn good looking, if I do say so myself. Blow my own trumpet. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, then make sure you like the video and share it around with all of your mates. And I will see you in the next video of whatever it is that I decide to do. Bye!